between naked and buck naked. What is a wild story you have as sheriff that you can share? You know you can't make this stuff up, right?
That's true.
So we get a call about a fella who is buck naked in a public park. So our deputy gets there and he goes into the park and into the restroom, and the fella's got all his clothes on. So he says to himself, I believe I'll give this fella a break. So we trespassed him from the park so he couldn't come back. Well, the thanks my deputy got for arresting him was the guy threatening to kill my deputy. So he takes him down to the booking, and we got a scanner, much like TSA does, and the dude has a thermos up the exit ramp. I mean, the top of the thermos is up like at his rib cage. It's traveling north. And the doctor looked at him. The doctor said, I can't do anything with this. We had to put the dude in the hospital overnight and watch him for a surgeon to come in there the next day and work it out. Hello, everyone. I'm Sheriff Grady Judd, and you're watching Like a Farmer.
Hey, y'all, it's Pat. Welcome to another episode of Like a Farmer. As always, every single Wednesday, why don't you click on your YouTube and check us out, see who we're talking to that week, or wherever you listen to your audio podcast. Today, the iconic Florida man. Anytime that you come into Florida, it don't matter what county you come from, if you say Sheriff Grady Judd, they know who you're talking about. This is the safest that I've ever felt. I need y'all to once again tune into YouTube because you're going to want to watch this. You want to see Sheriff in his uniform. Appreciate y'all's support. Continue to like, comment, subscribe, share, do whatever you got to do to be like a farmer. Sheriff, how was that intro? Did you like it?
Man, I love that. Like a farmer. Just think, if you need to have your friends who are not quite as cool as you tune in. You know what I'm saying? They could be totally cool if they watched Like a Farmer.
I agree with that, and I appreciate that. The name came from, come from a sixth-generation citrus and cattle family here in Bartow, Florida. And growing up, it was always like you don't have to be a farmer, but you want to be like a farmer. You want to have the work ethic like a farmer. You want to be able to eat like a farmer. You want to know where the food's coming from, who's growing from the food. I kind of like to dress like a farmer. I'm not the guy on the farm every single day. I leave that to mom and brother and everything, but I want to be like a farmer. So that's really where the name came from.
Well, I got to tell you that being born and raised in Polk County, we've always had goats, cows, something. And I was at one of the cattle association meetings, and I was talking about my cattle. And a fellow said, well, how many cattle do you have? And I said, well, I got 15. Now, keep in mind, I'm at the Cattlemen's Association, where they got like hundreds and thousands, and I had 15, right? And one of the cattlemen said, no, Grady, that is not the answer. He said, you tell him you got just less than 1,000. And, well, that is less than 1,000. But I love the farm. So we actually sold our little piece of property in town and moved out on a bigger piece of property so I could have a few more cows. And I bought me a brand new tractor. And I ride my tractor. That's mental therapy for me, If you're not like a farmer, you're missing out on a lot of good stuff.
I agree with that. And it's a lifestyle, You don't have to be doing it as an occupation. It's truly how you live your life. We, before the cameras were on, Sheriff, it's the coolest thing. And we're talking about icons we've had on the show, whether it's John Daly or the Bills quarterback Josh Allen or all the country musicians and the actors and the actresses. We were just walking down the street here in Lakeland, Florida, and people were honking, yelling. Sheriff, can I get a picture with you? It took me and you 30 minutes to walk 100 yards because of the pictures that you stopped and took, and you didn't shy away from anybody. Why do you do that?
Well, I'm a little old boy from South Cumbie Road in Polk County. My dad and mom were wonderful, wonderful people, taught me right from wrong, strong Christian folks. But we didn't have a lot growing up. Well, when I would go to school, I was wearing clothes that Mom would make because we couldn't afford to buy them at the store. Now, I didn't know, I was ahead of my time, that's the cool thing now is to have tailor-made clothes, right? But I got to high school. I guess high school was when I first noticed it. There were kids there from well-to-do families or comfortable families, and they didn't want us in their clubs. They wouldn't really interact with us or talk to us. They weren't mean to us. They just stayed away from us like we weren't good enough. At least that's the way we felt. And I thought to myself as a young man, if I ever get to the point in life where somebody wants to talk to me, I will always stop and talk to them. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I want to give everybody the opportunity to interact. Well, lo and behold, I end up the sheriff, which was my dream from the time I was a child, to be the sheriff. But even with being the sheriff, I had no idea what was to come. But to this day, anyone that wants to talk, I stop and talk to them, because I don't want anybody to feel the way that I felt when I was growing up in high school. And, God made us all equal. We're all God's children, and everybody's equally as important. So whether I'm talking to the person that economically doesn't have much, or whether I'm talking to the billionaire, they all get the same attention.
Now, you've been with the department since you were a teenager, and
Yes.
you just mentioned this was like, hey, growing up, you grew up in Polk County, you wanted to be the sheriff your whole life. Where did that kind of passion come from to work in law enforcement?
It's a God thing, because this is my mission, Phil. From the time little, 4 or 5 years old, I've got some of the old 8mm that we've preserved now on new technology of my mother, who had made me a little policeman's outfit. And so there's never been a time that I can remember that I didn't want to be the sheriff and work in law enforcement. So that's just always been ingrained in me. And my parents didn't push me that way. I had an uncle from Tennessee that was the Polk County Sheriff back about 1954, but it's not like there's this family following in public safety. So I say that it's my mission, Phil, that it's preordained by God, and I grasp it, and I love it. It's my happy place.
You've been the sheriff since 2004.
I was elected in 2004. I took office in January 2005.
So 20 years.
Yes.
And you're still in great shape. You're still healthy, active, ready to go. I mean, are you just going to continue to do it for the next 20 years? Or?
I hope so, at least 20 more years. I figure, if, Donald Trump can be the president of the United States at 80, right, and run the whole United States, I can handle one county. So as long as I'm healthy, we're moving the agency and the community forward, and the people will vote for me. I want to work. I'm one of those people in life. Work is my happy place. So I wake up most mornings after all of these years, and I'm starting my 54th year in law enforcement, working on it. I still wake up before the alarm goes off to come to work. It is awesome. Serving the people, helping the people, protecting the people. We have a big charity, so those that are less fortunate that we can help, we help. We have a 53-year low crime rate in unincorporated Polk County in our service cities. I want to continue to do that. I've got the greatest men and women that work with me at the sheriff's office, and together we all serve the people. And we want to make life better for everyone.
Like I mentioned it before, I feel the safest I've ever felt in my whole life. I mean, that's one thing that you have done a great job, and you make it known. It doesn't matter if it's armed robbery or if it's jaywalking. That next morning when you're on TV, you're holding up the mugshot, and it's like you don't want to be on this little picture right here with Sheriff Judd holding it.
Oh, I got a card for you if you violate the law.
It's unbelievable.
It's called public record. By law, it is all public record. And I think if you're going to be a thief, a criminal, a burglar, or a robber, your neighbors need to know what you look like and need a warning. So I get fresh material every day, and I do morning briefings with Sheriff Grady Judd. Now, like a farmer is important to watch. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
But you could be super cool if you hooked in and watched morning briefings with Sheriff Grady Judd. Our social media at the sheriff's office, over our different platforms, we do between 15 and 19 million views a week on all of it put together. So we have some really entertaining things, but we also reconfirm with the community of how safe we are because if you violate the law, my deputies lock you up.
You've got a great team. You just mentioned it, and this is the one thing, in my opinion, that would hurt you moving forward if you wanted to continue to do the job, and it's keeping up with the times.
Sure.
You're the best at it, dude. I mean, we talked about it before the cameras turned on. Social media is so important, and you grasped that, and you said, team, if we're going to do social media, we're going to be the best at it. Like, it's not like you're still stuck in the 80s or 90s or even early 2000s. You're like, Pat, we need to do podcasts. We need to do social media. Like, that's the new generation coming up, how they're getting their information at. So you come in, you bring social media into Polk County Sheriff, and you're one of the best in the country.
Well, that is the focus of where we are at the Sheriff's Office. Listen, I have met people that have worked for the Sheriff's Office or police departments 25 years. And you go, oh, they have 25 years experience. Well, I've seen a lot of people that's got 1 year experience 25 times. They never grow and they never progress. We just had our planning retreat yesterday for all the staff at the Sheriff's Office, the captains and above. And what you talk about, Pat, is exactly the communications I had. The agency is booming forward with technology. And we can either move forward with it or we regress. And I'm excited about the future. I created a cell unit, Sheriff's Artificial Intelligence Laboratory. I've got the first one attached to a police department in the nation that I can find. And we've partnered with the Polytechnic. So we got all these brilliant kids that understand the IT and the techie world. And part of their capstone course is to work with my new cell unit to say, hey, how are we going to use artificial intelligence to better protect people and keep people safe? How are we going to be able to investigate artificial intelligence created crime and understand it? How are we going to make sure that the artificial intelligence and technology that we use at the Sheriff's Office has no biases built into it? And how are we going to teach and coach that throughout the community? So I love being on the cutting edge. Now, I'm telling you that you look at me, and I'll use my wife's terminology, boy, you're weird. I work all day long at the Sheriff's Office. I go home, I eat dinner, I work on my daily email that I don't have time to deal with. I am then searching social media. I'm searching academic media. Hey, how can we do better? What's technology today? What's AI doing? I'm preparing for all the questions I want to ask for all the brilliant people I've hired that work in that cell unit tomorrow. So we are developing technology and skills that we are going to be using 5 years, 10 years from now. We're partnering with private enterprise that's already figured out some of this stuff to say, how do we blend it over and protect the people of Polk County? So it's an exciting time. So the law enforcement officer you see driving around in the patrol car is very necessary. The detectives are very necessary. Mm-hmm. That's the core of what we do. How we do it depends on technology and artificial intelligence and social media. And that's where we are inside the organization every day.
Do you get to a point in your work and where you are now that you have kind of a Rolodex, or it could be weekly meetings, I don't even know, of like sheriffs all across the country, and you're brainstorming these types of ideas, or is this more it's my way or the highway type of deal?
First off, at your age, I didn't even know that you knew what a Rolodex was.
The Rolodex is the most important thing you can have as a human being. I got taught that a long time ago, actually. I love that. Now, for those of you who don't know what a Rolodex is, don't worry. Just use your new technology and have your contacts all over the world. You've got this right here, but I remember walking into the office, and my grandfather Dudley Putnam and my grandma Sally Putnam, and they
Absolutely.
had the Rolodex, and it was just a little with all the contacts, and I was like, wow. That's actually really important, and I remember them telling me that, so I've kind of kept that in the back of my mind.
Well, they were exactly right, but that's the way we used to do it. And today, I don't even know if you could buy a Rolodex. But the cool thing is, we do, my team has has work groups all over the country that if we have an issue or a problem, that we send it out and say, hey, we've seen this. Have you had this problem? Or we bought this piece of equipment and it's not doing what it's supposed to, or we think it can do better. Is there anyone that's taken this piece of technology or equipment to the next level? That's so very important. But, you know, in order to do those things and run a professional organization, you've got to first connect with the people. The most important thing we do is communicate with and listen to the people in our county. If you listen to them, then you allow them to be a part of the decision-making process. You allow them to engage, and then you work with the community on all of the wonderful things to help the communities that are in our county that are less fortunate. And you first give trust, then you receive trust. You know, that allows you to hold the office and keep the continuity of your professionals so that you can do all this really super awesome technology stuff to keep the community safe. But I see some agencies, police agencies, sheriff's offices, you keep rotating bosses. They don't know whether to turn left, turn right, go up, go down. They're just surviving day to day. But in our organization, we have the stability of time, and that's allowed by the community because we listen to them and we deliver customer service with a sense of urgency.
That's awesome. This is one of the main reasons why I wanted you to come on the show is because I want people to know kind of the behind the scenes. Usually you can just go on social media, turn on the TV, and they just see Sheriff Judd. But, you know, Sheriff's got a face for TV. I mean, it don't matter. You got a camera. I mean, you're locked and loaded. One of the most popular videos, actually, and I'm curious your thoughts if you knew the impact it was going to have in the future of when you got on national television. You're like, why'd you shoot that guy so many times? And you said we ran out of bullets. I mean, that was iconic. And you said it because you knew when you take down one of my guys, hey, we're coming for you. But these one-liners that come out of your mouth, I mean, do you practice these in the mirror, or is it one of those things where they just come fresh off the start?
You know, we did a big interview one time. We had CNN, Fox, National, all the locals, ABC, CBS, and I had one of the CNN reporters say, "Who writes your material?" And I said, "Writes my material? I got a director of communication that tries to shut me up." When I was a child, my mother used to tell me, "Son, if you would engage that brain 1/2 second before you engaged your mouth, life would be a lot easier for you." I wish she were still alive so she could see running my mouth worked out for me. But I think I have learned how to balance that. I try to say the things that I think most of the community's thinking anyway. It's just common sense, you know, and it's having the nerve to stand up. You know, I've seen people that had an idea or they've had an agenda. They scream loud and hard, and it's just wrong. But people in their personality of not wanting conflict, they'll just kind of, you know, be spineless and winnow down and, oh my gosh, maybe he'll go away in a minute. Well, when people start saying stupid stuff, I stand up and say, you know, that's stupid stuff. And no, we're not going to do stupid things. So keep running your stupid mouth, and maybe your half dozen people will listen to you. But I've seen entire city commissions fold up over 5 people with a loud mouth. Wait a minute. The county or the city may be 100,000, and 5 people are running their mouth about some bad idea, and all of a sudden you're capitulating just to get them to shut up? Look at them and say, yeah, what you have there is an opinion. It's not a very good one. And by the way, there's 100,000 people in this county, and the 5 of you are not going to change what's in the best interest of the 98,000 that agree with us.
True.
You can't believe how effective that is. So, you know, my favorite thing is, well, I like your opinion, but we're not doing that, so get over it. You know, eat a moon pie, drink a 7-Up, quit murdering people. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. And you know what just came? You are the issue, Sheriff, in the fact that everybody wants to move here because everybody just loves you. And I want this is opinion. We're going into left field a little bit here, okay? We're going to talk about...
How about right field?
Right field, all right.
Okay.
Everybody wants to move. Number one, everybody wants to move to Florida. I mean, why would you not want to move to the state of Florida? But people want to come here to Polk County because of you, because they love you. You're kind of... You have an open door policy. Hey, you might not be from here. You can move here, but you're going to obey by our rules. What are your thoughts? I feel like these home developments can't stop being busy because we have people moving here every single day.
Goodness. You know, I go to the retirement communities and I go to the new home, HOAs and speak with them. And I tell folks that have moved here from other parts of the nation. I say, you come here from New York? Yeah. You come here from California? Yeah. You come here from New Jersey? Yeah. You come here because you want warm weather in the winter? Yeah. You come here because you want lower taxes? Yeah. You want to live in a safe environment? Yeah. And I say, well, great. I welcome you with open arms. I have one request. Don't vote the way the majority of the people did in the states you came from, or you'll still have warm weather in the winter. But you won't have lower taxes.
True.
And you will not have a safe community, because law enforcement doesn't determine whether a community is safe or not. Law enforcement officers follow the law. But when you elect governors and House members and senators and mayors and city commissioners and county commissioners, and they make real stupid laws that think more of the criminals than they do the law-abiding citizens, well, you let the criminals out, and then the Me Too say, well, if they can do that, me too, and your crime goes up. I tell them straight up, we love you. We're glad you're here. But you moved to our state, the free state of Florida. We didn't move to your state. We want you to be part of our community and add to it. But we don't want any of those crazy laws that says, you don't have to post a bond if you violate the law. And I had a lady once tell me about the pictures. Well, Sheriff, you put my baby's picture out there. I wish you wouldn't do that. And I said, well, ma'am, I'll make a deal with you. She said, what's that? I said, you tell your son to quit burglarizing homes, and I'll quit putting his picture out there. But as long as he breaks into homes, he's going to see his picture all over social media. So the reality of it is, your community is as safe as the people you elect, period. Before
I ask you this next question, I would like to let you know that I do understand there is a political aspect to what you do. So I don't want, you have to kind of wear multiple caps when it comes to law enforcement. But have you ever thought about being a politician? Because you'd be a great one.
Do you know, I have been asked that over and over and over. And I'm elected to sheriff. True, yeah. So technically, I guess that I'm a politician, but I'm asked the same exact thing. And here's what I tell folks. The people who are in the political world that want to be governors in the House of Representatives, the Senate, the school board, that want to enter politics, that's good for them. I'm in politics because I want to be the sheriff.
Right, yeah.
If I could be the sheriff without the elected component, that would be easier. But there's a special reason why the sheriff form of law enforcement is the best. And here's why. If you're a police chief for any city, you're hired by either the city manager or the mayor or the commission. Your government's employed to enforce the law. And that's the same thing at the state level, and that's the same thing at the national level. The chief executives over law enforcement agency are hired by the government. In Polk County, in Florida, and in a lot of other counties across the United States, I am the people's representative to enforce the law. The government doesn't appoint me to do the job. The government's not my boss. My boss is the people that elected me. And I tell folks, I don't work for the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office works for me. And I work for the people. So at the end of the day is when it gets real popular, oh, we want red light cameras. Think about all the money we can bring into the city. When they came to me, I go, I'm not having red light cameras. People need to receive a citation if they run a red light. Maybe. But we'll put officers out there. So when you run a red light, you have the right to have a face-to-face look with a law enforcement officer. There may be a reason why you made a mistake and ran that red light. And that officer may think a warning's more appropriate.
Great point.
A camera's impersonal. And I don't like this money grab of these red light cameras. I just don't do it. Now, I capitulated on school bus cameras because there's not a circumstance where you should be driving past a school bus that's carrying our most precious cargo if the stop signs are out. So I capitulated there. But the reality of it is I work for the people, and the way I deliver police services and serve the community is different because my boss is the people of Polk County. My boss is not the city manager, is not the mayor, is not the city commissioners. So I have people say, well, I wish my chief would say that, just like you. Well, your chief can't say that just like me, or he will get fired.
It's true.
I can say it because I live and die on the support from the community.
The people.
The chief lives and dies on the politics of the city commissioners or the city manager.
Now, you keep on saying about being elected. I mean, at the end of the day, and you're going to have to give me some data here, but I feel like over the last few elections, at least, you really haven't had a ton of competition, right? I mean, you go to the ballot, and it's like, maybe there's a write-in, maybe somebody.
Yeah,
my name
I have been blessed. I've had write-ins. This last time I had a guy run against me on the partisan ticket, and we had arrested him several years ago when he was a school coach for videoing a child nude in the football showers.
And he was running for sheriff.
And he ran against me. Now I overwhelmingly won.
Surprise.
But there in any community, there's a few people that thought a sexual predator ought to be sheriff rather than me. That says a lot about their IQ in and of itself, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So you've always got a few whack jobs in every community.
Maybe I should run, huh?
You would be my next person to beat you, but you would be the most qualified person that has run in a long time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Hey, I play a game on this show, okay?
Okay.
It's called Give 'em the Boot, presented by TECOVAS. We've got a brand new pair of TECOVAS for you, Sheriff, and when we went yesterday to pick these out for you, look at these things. Boom.
Man, that's serious stuff, isn't it?
I thought, the black would go well with the uniform, but
it does.
Here's the game.
Okay.
There's 4 questions in this boot.
4.
You can give one of them the boot, meaning you don't have to answer it, but if you give one of them the boot, you got to answer the rest of them.
What is on Sheriff Judd's Christmas list?
Good question.
Well, what's the number one thing on my Christmas list is for every child in Polk County to wake up on Christmas morning with a toy. And to recognize what we're celebrating is the birth of Jesus, our Savior. So we work with Toys for Tots to make sure no child that we're aware of, no child ever wakes up on Christmas morning in Polk County without a toy. In fact, we put toys in all of our patrol cars. And
awesome.
We go through the communities Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and give away toys. But that's my number one.
That's a great one.
That's a great question. You'd have thought I wrote that, but I didn't. Okay, here's another question. You see, I'm a product of the Polk County school system, which I love, and I love my teachers. They taught me to read and write. That's why I can read this. Who is the most famous person you've had an encounter with? An encounter. I met him or had a fight with him?
Well, you choose.
Well, I met them. James R. Ness, Matt Dillon.
Okay, yeah.
My superhero from the time I was a kid, It was his 80th birthday party. I happened to be in Los Angeles. I saw it. I went there. He autographed the book. I said, hey, I'm running for sheriff. I need some pictures with you. He said, okay, come up here. And I said, no, your staff said I would create a riot if I started getting my picture with you. I'll hang out, and at the end of the day after you sign the book. So I went back in the green room and spent some time with him. He was a super cool man. And President Trump, that, you know, when I was the president of the Major County Sheriffs of America, I was in the White House often, and I got to introduce President Trump to speak to the Major County Sheriffs and Major County Chiefs one day from behind his podium. I went out and introduced the president. That was pretty cool.
That's cool.
Governor DeSantis, who is my buddy,
Yeah.
he has made good things happen. He has reinforced the rules so that we could keep people safe. See, who else? Probably the most famous person that I've had a chance to meet is Marisa Judd, my wife. She is the number one person. In fact, she was my high school sweetheart. We were engaged to be married in high school.
Are you kidding me?
She was my first wife.
The fact that
She's my current wife, but
Yeah.
she was my first one
first
too.
and current, and the fact that you got to think it's really hard what law enforcement does as a whole.
Right,
And for her, as a wife, and all wife spouses out there,
right.
to have their spouse be in law enforcement, shout out to them. How about that? You know?
Oh, it's wonderful. You know, we work nights, weekends, shift work. You know, you're always, even though you're not scheduled, you're always on call. My wife doesn't know a time that I haven't been called away, but we make it work. And she is my greatest supporter and my harshest critic. She'll tell me right up front, Grady Judd, I don't believe I'd have said that today. And I said, well, I did. She said, well, you need to think about that in the future. I said, you know what I say? Yes, ma'am.
As you should.
No, I think about it. Now, it doesn't mean I'm going to listen to her, but I think about it.
Yeah.
Okay. What is a wild story you have as sheriff that you can share? Well, I got one. You can't make this stuff up, right?
That's true. Especially in Polk County.
Our deputies, who are the very best, like to be fair. So we get a call about a fella who was buck naked in a public park in a restroom. You know, and there's a difference between naked and buck naked. You can be naked and wearing your socks.
It's true.
You see, buck naked means you ain't got a stitch of clothes on any place. So our deputy gets there and he goes into the park and into the restroom, and the fella's got all his clothes on. So he says to himself, I believe I'll give this fellow a break. So we trespassed him from the park so he couldn't come back. And the deputy told him, you can't trespass on people's property. Just leave. Well, the guy walked across the street and got up on the train trestle. Now, they tell me I've got to explain what a train trestle is. Well, it's a train track, okay? So my deputy looks at him and goes, the dude is going to get run over by the train, and then he's trespassing on railroad property, so we arrest him. Well, the thanks my deputy got for arresting him was the guy threatened to kill my deputy. So he takes him down to the booking, and we got a scanner, much like TSA does, and we put him in the scanner, and we scan him, and the dude has a thermos up the exit ramp. You know what I'm saying?
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
I mean, the dude has a thermos that's northbound in the southbound lane.
Yeah, I got you.
Now, this thermos ain't just there. I mean, the top of the thermos is up like at his rib cage. You know, I mean, it's traveling north. So they asked the guy, what are you doing here? Now, I'm going to give you the G-rated version of this. He said, well, I was doing things that made me self-happy, and it kind of got away from me. That was 24 hours earlier. So we take the dude to the hospital, and the doctor looked at him. The doctor said, I can't do anything with this. We got to get a surgeon, and we got to get a specialist. We had to put the dude in the hospital overnight and watch him for a surgeon to come in there the next day and work it out.
Oh. Wow.
Now, that's about as crazy as I've seen in a long time. We got one more question in here.
Wow.
Is that just crazy?
That's bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I mean, you know, when you go north in the southbound lane,
Yeah.
it jams up traffic. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
Yeah.
Picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah. If you weren't sheriff, what would you be doing? Now, listen, I got to tell you something. It may come as a total shock. I am a conservative. That's a no-brainer, right? Mm-hmm. But I am a pedigreed, certified, unabashed tree hugger. I never want to cut a tree down. I go by someplace and they're cutting a tree down. It brings tears to my eyes. I love the wild and the woods. A great day for me is if I've got my camera and I can be out in the middle of a swamp and they go, "What's in that nasty old swamp?" It's alive. It's wonderful. I would be a biologist. I would be a biologist probably out west because I love the big expanse. I love the big trees. I love the wild animals that's all over, but I would be a wildlife biologist.
Still time for that.
No, I'm too busy being sheriff.
You mentioned the camera. This was probably 8 years ago. You know, all the guys and girls from Polk County, we go to Baton Rouge. We got to go watch the Gators beat LSU.
Oh, yeah.
And well, you're there one year.
I was.
And you had your camera, and I'm sitting here like, you know, and this is we're yet to be in Baton Rouge. We're actually in New Orleans, you know, going to bus over to Baton Rouge, and you're just taking pictures. I'm like, I got my sheriff up here in New Orleans when there's no time. I got a cigar in my mouth. I got a gator on my, you know, we've got the whole Polk County crew there. But I could tell, you know, then that you just enjoy having that camera around your neck and taking pictures. Yeah.
You know, one day, and I say this, one day we're all going to die, okay? You know, so one day I'm going to be deader than 4 o'clock. So my goal is that I leave all these photographs. So if my kids or grandkids want to see what he was really like and what he really loved to do, they can look. If not, they can hit delete. It's their choice. So, but that is a snapshot of my heart and soul when I'm not at work. And I love. There's nothing better than, I mean, it's euphoric. It's an adrenaline rush to put a bad guy in jail that needs to go to jail. Mm-hmm. Now, occasionally we have to arrest people that it's kind of sad. We're sorry we have to arrest them. But sometimes it's like, yes, this person is very dangerous and very bad, and we're very happy. But when you get away from that, what I like is helping people. And I love nature. You know, I mean, if like I was in charge and I could wave a magic wand, if you wanted to build a road, I'd say, great, we need a road. But I'd make you elevate everything so all the animals and birds could fly and underneath it. Well, it costs a lot of money. Yeah, but we're not bothering the nature that way.
If you could just like think about the last, we can even just go 20 years as sheriff. Is there anything that you like, man, I wish I would have done this different?
I wish I had more time to do more things. We all make mistakes, you know, and if you make a mistake, it's never too soon to apologize and correct it. And that's what I tell the men and women that work for me. I said, listen, when our deputies go out and we make these snap decisions, we're not going to get it right 100% of the time. But as I explained to the community, there's nothing we do out here that we can't undo, that we can't have a redo. And the same thing is for your boss, for me. If I make a mistake, my philosophy is dress up, fess up, and fix up. So I share that. So when I make a mistake, I apologize for it. And we fix it, and we don't make that mistake twice. That's important. If you don't, you can't have the trust of the community. I love the community, and I trust them first. But when you're that way, they'll trust you back. And on day one at the sheriff's office, I go down and we hire once a month. I tell the folks to work here at the sheriff's office and to serve the people of Polk County, you've got to be honest, ethical, and moral all of the time. You've got to deliver customer service with a sense of urgency all of the time. If people wanted to talk to you tomorrow, they would have called you tomorrow. And you've got to treat people and talk to people like you want your mama treated and talked to. If you have to talk stern to someone, make them make you talk stern. If you have to put hands on someone to arrest them, make them make you have to put hands on them. If you have to use chemical agent or tasers to get them under control, make them make you. If they mistake your niceness for weakness, we'll show them the difference when we arrest them. But the reality of it is, if you do that, and if you're kind and considerate and respectful and you go above and beyond, most people, even those you have to arrest, will respect you back. And that's all we ask. And that's how I try to function myself.
That's a great culture to have, especially within the department. When's the last time that you've been tased? I mean, it's got to have been
Oh, I don't get tased.
You maybe back in the day when you were in training.
No, never.
Oh, wow.
See, tasers came about after I was a boss. I was not yet the sheriff, but I was one of the big bosses. And we spray our recruits with chemical agent, okay, because we need to know if they're going to have an adverse reaction to that before they get in a hostile situation. So we got tasers, and they said, okay, we're going to tase people. Well, if you've ever been stuck your finger and got electrocuted, got a little shock, that just like, just saying that makes my face quiver. So anyway, long story short, my trainer what we're going to do, we're going to bring them out to the range and tase them. I go, no, you're not going to do that. You can ask them if they want to. Well, but it's important. I said, no, we spray them with chemical agents, so we want to make sure they're not going to have an adverse medical reaction. We know that according to the data, they're not going to have a reaction to the taser. It's just going to hurt. And they go, well, we think it's important. And I said, wait a minute. We give them a firearm, but we don't take them to the range and shoot them with it. And we're not going to do that with a taser. So I've never been tased, but I can tell you, I met a fella in Lakeland. And he said, Sheriff, I met some of your deputies the other night, about 2 weeks ago. I said, you did? He said, yes, sir. I said, what happened? He said, I had a little bit too much to drink, and they started to arrest me, and I kind of pulled back. And he said, they tased me. He said, it hurts? I said, yeah. I said, but what are you doing resisting? He said, I wasn't sober, or I wouldn't have. But he came up to me to apologize. Now, I could have been snooty and ugly to him, but I didn't. I put my arm around his shoulder and gave him a hug and said, well, brother, don't do that anymore, or we're going to tase you some more.
This is like, if I ask you, why do you love Polk County? Like, if somebody says, why do you love Polk County, Pat, it's like, number one, just the people and the respect. And you said a little bit earlier, it's like, hey, when you're talking to somebody, look them in your eye. When you walk inside, take your hat off. When you're walking into a door and there's a woman behind you, open the door for the woman. Like, those types of values that Polk County holds, that I was born with or raised with, you were raised with. That's why I love Polk County. But why do you, serve Polk County as long and as hard as you have? Like, why do you love Polk County, Florida?
Yeah, I was born and raised here, and you know that. And I was born and raised in Polk County when it was still the old South. And if I didn't open a door for a lady, my daddy would slap me. And if I didn't say yes, sir, and no, sir, my daddy would slap me. I consider it an honor today to say yes, sir, and no, ma'am, and yes, ma'am. And to me, that's an honor. And I know this from working with the people, not only of this county, but I've been other places. The overwhelming majority of the people in any community are good people. We all have a different personality. We don't all see things the same way. And in this day and age, you're Republican and Democrat, and Republicans got to hate Democrats, Democrats got to hate Republicans. Hey, I'm a proud conservative and a Republican, but I love my Democrat friends. I may not agree with them, but I'll sit beside them in church. I'll go out and eat lunch with them. That's the American way. That's the way I was raised. And the people of Polk County are just absolutely, totally wonderful. And we're supposed to have differences of opinion. If we're all thinking the same way, we all ain't thinking. Mm-hmm. And Polk County's been good to me. And I hope that I've been good for Polk County.
Before we leave, I got to, what's next for Sheriff Judd? Down the road, obviously, we talked about it. You might have another 20 years left as sheriff. That's exciting. I'm here for that. But, when you finally put the badge down, like what do you want to be doing?
Well, I want to be dead.
Okay.
I'd like to be sheriff about 20. I figure 20 more years is about as long as I got. At least 20 more years of good years. If I want to work as long as I'm healthy, as long as I can serve the people, as long as I can move the agency forward, as long as I can keep the community safe. And that depends on the community allowing me to work. Because every 4 years I have to ask them if I can work for 4 more years. And I love that. But I love the agency and I love the people of Polk County so much that if I get to the age that I can't do the job that is expected of me, if I get to the age that the agency is not flourishing, I'll step out of the way because I love the community just that much. But as long as I'm healthy, I want to work. And I tell the folks that, how you can tell if I've had enough? And they go, no, how? I said, well, see, there'll be this big red fire truck, and it'll be backed up to the front door of the sheriff's office. And they'll be carrying me out in a wooden box, you see, and then they'll put me up on this fire truck and drive me away. And they go, why a fire truck? And I said, well, I don't know. I always wanted to ride on a fire truck.
Sheriff, this has been a privilege to me for you to come on the show today.
I've had a good time.
We could sit here and talk for hours. You've got stories.
I do have a question of you.
Yeah, yes, sir. Go for it. You can interview.
You've had over 100 of these podcasts.
Yes, sir.
You're very popular. Yeah, my chopped liver, it took over 100 of them before you got to me. What's happening here, brother?
I know. I apologize. Because you're not at all. And you rank right up there as one of the best shows. This has been awesome. It really has. We should do this more often. Maybe, I might have to come into is it morning briefing?
Morning briefing.
Yeah.
You need to do that and cover that. That'd be fun. And already, I love your family.
Yes, sir.
I love Polk County. And I tell one more story.
Yep,
When
absolutely.
I was a kid, we lived in a neighborhood. There was an orange grove behind us, right? We're poor people, right? There's this big orange grove behind us. And we had the owner of the grove come out there. He was out looking at the grove one day, and we were a bunch of little fellas. And he looked at us, and he said, boys, I want you to tell your mamas and daddies, you can have all the fruit out of this grove that you want to eat, but don't waste it. And don't be picking oranges and throwing them at each other. Is that a deal? And we said, yes, sir. Now, I don't know who that man was. That's real Polk County. And during fruit season, Mama would send me out there, and I would pick 8 orange or 2 oranges or whatever we wanted to eat. That man let everybody in the neighborhood pick enough fruit to eat as long as we promised not to pick fruit and play in. He said, you can play in the orange grove. Just don't pick my fruit and throw it at each other because you're wasting it.
Yep.
That's the Polk County I was raised in.
That's a great story. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
I had a great time today.
We'll have to do it again soon. Thank you for all that you do, seriously. You go above and beyond as sheriff, and we're biased. We love our sheriff. Like I said, you're known nationwide. Everybody loves you. They look up to you. They know for a fact that you keep this place safe, and I think that's why people are like, hey, we need to get this guy doing more stuff for the country. But you've done this and 1,000,000 times more in your lifetime already, and you're not even done, you said.
Well, I was messing with you over the podcast.
Yeah, it's all good.
But because we're from Polk County, if we don't poke at each other a little bit, we don't like each other.
Yeah, you don't like them. Yeah, correct. Hey, appreciate you coming on.
Yes,
and
sir.
as always, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Like I mentioned, every single Wednesday, turn on YouTube, see who's on the show this week. If you're audio people, wherever you listen to your audio podcast, Like a Farmer, hey, 2026 is right down the block. We got another season coming out. Why don't you go in the comment section, see who you want to see on the show next, and continue to like, comment, subscribe, share, do whatever you got to do to be like a farmer.